So in 2001, it was CS:GO only. It was $15,000 prize pool, and then by '04, it reached up to $250,000. But that was because it was 5 games total, so it was about $50K a pop. Okay, there's random static. Anyways, Cyber Pro Athlete kind of led the way to the overlord we knew in the early 2000s as MLG. MLG started in 2002, and it was 4 years later when they actually had their first televised competitive gaming event, which was Halo 2, in the United States. And as you can see in the slide, they did extensive scientific research to find out the optimum diet for gamers, and it is actually Mountain Dew and Doritos. So, yeah, we've been following that to suit, and it's really helped us out. And then later on, a year ago in 2016, or I guess it's 2 years ago, sorry. 2 years ago, MLG was hemorrhaging money. They were basically about to go bankrupt, and Activision was like, yes, please. And scooped them up for about $46 million. And now, it was about 4 or 5 months ago, I think, they did a major rebranding of MLG and kind of scooped up all of the Blizzard games. And they recently added Call of Duty, and they have Gears of War on there as well.
Halo just got another bid back into it after being horrendous for like 2 years. But
yeah, like I'm a big Halo guy. I used to watch it all the time, and so it's fun to see that Halo's back in MLG. So I know it warms my heart a little. And yeah, let's see. So now I'm going to talk this is basically the current state of esports. Esports, as I said, is a huge umbrella of types of games. Like everywhere from MOBAs with your Dota, with League of Legends. You've got first-person shooters with Overwatch, Counter-Strike. You got fighters with Smash and Street Fighter V. Sports games are actually really gaining steam, especially Madden, and just because they can get that funding from the official leagues. And even iRacing. Thousands of people that play this game and take it very seriously. So it's not just League of Legends, or it's not just the ones that are on the forefront that are considered esports. There's tons out there. The biggest thing is StarCraft used to be like the kind of epitome of esports, but honestly, the size of StarCraft hasn't really went down since its heyday. It's just esports has grown, so it kind of dwarfs. Like if you look at the statistics, basically the same number of people who play StarCraft as they used to. So it's just in different countries. So yeah, here's some graphs on kind of the market growth of esports and the projections over the past 5 years. In 2012, the global revenue was right around like 180 or 150 million dollars, and it skyrocketed to 1.5 billion by last year, and it's projected to get up to 2.25 billion by 2022. And also have the total viewers. It's just a linear trend, but honestly, there's talk about it plateauing, which is a good thing, because you can't just continue to exponentially grow something or it's going to get out of control. But money is there. As you can see, there's professional teams are starting to buy, like there's franchising of
sports teams.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and so here's another cool graph. Anyways, basically the prize pool for League of Legends back in 2011 was $100,000, where now it's $4.6 million, and that's literally only 7 years difference, and it's a massive jump. In Dota 2, it was like $1.68 million its first year, all added up, and now it's like $24.8 million. Like it's incredible, the growth of esports over the past decade, honestly. And esports is here, and it's here to stay, honestly, and it's going to keep growing. So now that I gave the whole spiel of esports and kind of maybe the idea of, if you didn't know, some fun facts, how do you get into esports? If you're like, oh, esports are my thing now. Was it Star Trek or Space Invaders? I love that. Esports, let's do it. So how are you going to get involved with esports? The first and the easiest is supporting or being a fan. I'll talk about these more in depth. And the second way is like actually playing esports or coaching or trying to organize a team. That's like the next step as far as difficulty. And then next would be planning your own events or organizing your own tournament. So first off, support and fandom. Like, how do you get into it? So the first way is, honestly, you're already at your computer. Turn on Twitch. Watch these people play the video games. Like, support the people in esports, because viewers, even if you have your ad block on, when they bring their numbers of the viewers, that's what brings sponsors to them. And at the very grassroots level, that is the easiest way to help out esports, is just watch it. The next would be kind of attending local events or even large events. The easiest is local events as far as on the wallet. But all of you are here at a large event, so you like attending events anyways. Go to DreamHack. Go to Intel Extreme Masters. There's so many esports events that are happening around you that you could literally go to an esports event probably every week within a 50-mile radius of your house.
And their production levels are like super high quality if you've never been to one. Like DreamHack does a great job. I can't really speak for Intel, but I've just seeing some of the video from the Intel stuff is really amazing as far as the stage, and it's quite a spectacle, really. So get out there and go see it is like one of the, as far as my opinion goes, is one of the first things you need to do to really kind of feel that energy and see where that lies with you.
Yeah, and then next is merchandise. As you can see, I spilt some mojito on my SKT jacket, or I would be wearing that as well. But I got a Curse shirt, Team Liquid beanie, DreamHack hoodie. Like, buy merch or give donations on stream, or just any kind of monetary helping is nice. And honestly, if you don't have money, make fan art. Fan art is a great publicity thing for teams. They put it on their social media. Even some of the players hang it up. Like, honestly, as an esports athlete, it seems very glorious on the outside, but I know for a fact that professional gamers, if they get a piece of mail of fan art or just a token saying a person thought about them enough to send them something, it's awesome. A person took their time to draw this picture of TSM's entire team, and it's a beautiful thing. So next is kind of the play, coach, or organize, and honestly, the grind mentality. If you're a first-person shooter, a player that really kind of rings home, always on the grind. All these Call of Duty players, all these Halo players, they are always on the grind. And the grind mentality is true. Really, what you have to do is you have to take it seriously. You have to almost treat it like a job. You have to watch your gameplay, look up strats, like find the pros, try and emulate them. You have to take it seriously for esports to be taken seriously. And so that's kind of the grind mentality of just doing it 110% and not looking back and kind of just growing as an esports player. And then I also kind of put the logical steps, because me as a person, I'm logistics minded. You give me a big thing, I compartmentalize it into a ton of different little small steps, A, B, C, D, and how to get it done. So if you want to start a team, first is you have to actually find people to be on your team. And then after that, setting a schedule, like an actual set schedule and sticking to it is really helpful for teams, because when you're just kind of randomly hooking up every 2 or 3 days, practicing some maps, it's not going to cut it. You have to do a schedule, be there, and give 110%. And decide on strategies, look at your gameplay afterwards, and the next really step is attend a local tournament. After you built up some team chemistry, try it out, because you could be slaying it online, but whenever you get into a LAN environment, you could get crushed. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing for a team is how to take a loss, because there's a lot of people that really, that they go to their first Street Fighter tournament, me included, and get 0-2'd right off the bat, and you're just crushed, and you don't ever want to touch your sticks again, but you just got to hop back on the horse and keep going, because that's the only way you're going to get better.
Yeah, and that's kind of like going back to the grind thing that he'd mentioned is like it's not just online tournaments. You have to go to local stuff and like participate and do a lot of that consistently to really hone your understanding of like the tournament scenarios and kind of just how, like he said, the zero latency thing is going to be big too. So you have to go experience it and do that and do it a lot. So
yeah, and also, so as far as local tournaments, because we host local tournaments, actually having people that show up to our tournaments is great. So like supporting your local tournaments is great for everyone, because if more people show up to these tournaments, then you have more funding and you have more events, and esports grows. So yeah, and then finally is event and TOing, which in my opinion is the most difficult, but I love it. And so yeah, the easiest way to kind of get in is host an online tournament. Online tournaments require no equipment other than your computer, and basically you're just cat herder of trying to get people to play against each other and post their scores. And if you can deal with, because we started an online league for Call of Duty here recently, like a month and a half ago, and if you can deal with people online, you can really go far, because it's interesting to say the least. And then your next step is, start a local tournament. The biggest thing is venue. Venue is one of the hardest things to find for esports, especially computer-based esports like League of Legends, where you can't have a local server. Finding good internet and solid power. Like I've been to esports events where power strips are hanging from the ceiling, like breakers blow, like all kinds of just sloppy stuff. You have to get it right the first time. And I mean, even if you don't, learn from your mistakes and just kind of make it as professional as possible and take that extra effort. Really, really helps as far as event going.
yeah, the one big thing is like speaking about the venue is it's not necessarily renting the venue itself, it's the internet. Costs tens of thousands of dollars for a weekend.
Yeah,
like it's insanely inflated. There's no reason for it to be as high as it is. Like sometimes you can like cut a deal and be like, well, I'll pay a whole month's worth of high-speed internet for you, and it'll be cheaper than the rate they want to give you over the weekend.
Yeah, so honestly, MAGFest, their internet that they run for this convention, they don't buy it from the hotel, because it would be probably $250,000, honestly, for the internet, like a gigabit, or they probably need 2 gigabit for the entire event. And what they do is they buy gigabit internet for a guy across the river, and they have a big satellite dish in his yard, and they beam the wireless feed here, so they don't have to pay the hotel.
Oldest as far as talking to people, but
So I mean, it's crazy, and like people are creative and do that kind of stuff to make these things happen.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I could offer you tips about your internet and stuff, because I've done LAN organizations and events and stuff like that, running tournaments. It helps if you get somebody on your staff for doing a tournament who also works for the local cable company, because then they bring their modem, which is unlimited, and they just tap in, and so we've had like unrivaled Comcast at one of our events.
Really?
Great.
And then you get another guy who's really smart with like all the Steam games, and he makes Steam cache.
Yep.
So the first time somebody downloads it, it saves the cache, and then whenever anybody else needs to re-download a game, they get it at LAN speeds off the LAN server instead of hitting the internet.
Yeah, cache servers are big.
Yeah, cache server is great because then I have had my rig slowed down because of the speed of my drive, not the speed of getting the data.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and so as far as large-scale events, if you're just starting off, volunteer. Like, just show up, be a body with a T-shirt on, and help. On the next slide, I'll kind of go into detail about how the different areas you can be involved in. But honestly, just volunteering is the first step of getting into these larger events, because honestly, the event coordinating world, it's pretty small. There's probably like 50 people in the Southeast that I know that run almost all the conventions around. And so you have to really get your face out there and show people that you can work hard and you're reliable and you're there. And that's like the first big step, is proving yourself in this world. And so the next one is kind of, if you're interested in these big events, like especially the difference between small and large. The large events, there's so much more that happens besides TOing. There's security, there's the setup, there's huge stages, production, like I was on the backstage of DreamHack for the Dota thing, and they had 30 people running a production thing just for one of the games. Like, it's insane. The sheer amount of staff to pull off an esport event of this scale is huge. Tournament organizing, yeah, like I said, security, like everyone, like no one's more mad than a 15-year-old kid that just lost their first Call of Duty match. So having security there to deal with that is always needed, always needed. And then IT guys, like I'm an IT guy myself, but honestly, there's some things that just randomly break. We were hosting a Call of Duty tournament in West Virginia, and literally the internet just shut off.
Like the Google, like
to the
Google
connection
died.
to the DNS, just like I was trying to figure out why things weren't working, and like the internet literally just shut off. So like trying to deal with that, like we had 40 people trying to play Call of Duty and dealing with issues, because the biggest thing is you can plan an event to the T. You can take 2 years planning an event that's only going to be 1 day long. You have every millisecond planned out. 30 seconds in, there's a huge fire that happens, and you have to try and figure it out. So, well, go ahead.
Yeah, and we do a lot of console stuff. That's kind of our like niche thing. No one does console stuff because they're a pain, and they are a pain. But they're not any more difficult than, say, running PC stuff once you understand the nuances of using consoles. But like, just to clarify, like what he's talking about, everyone's probably like, well, you guys are doing a LAN. Why would you need the internet? Well, with console, you still have to have an internet connection to even run LAN servers. For anyone that did not know that.
Yeah, like Call of Duty, it has to verify that the game is a legitimate copy, and then it lets you in. Once you're actually in the game, you can unplug the Ethernet cord and play, but they tie you down. And I think that's one of the things that's kind of holding back console, is because on PC, PUBG or whatever, you can make a local server and do all that kind of fun stuff. But Call of Duty, or even Halo, there's not like a sandbox server situation. They're implementing it in Halo 5, I believe.
So
coming up.
Yeah, so Halo 5 is a nightmare because you have to have gold membership to even want to do like local stuff. So we would have to pay for
$10 times however many consoles.
Yeah, however many consoles to get Halo 5 to run. So we don't do a lot of Halo 5 stuff. No one does a lot of Halo 5 stuff, and that's why going back to like why Halo 5 didn't do well is because it wasn't friendly to anyone, and it was a game that the players really didn't like. But they are finally, after 2 years, they are coming out with, you can have a laptop run as a local server and link everything through there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there's just like nuances with events and things. And I was going to lead to the question slide. Ask me any question you want. Make fun of me. I don't really care.
I guess we got a little bit of time. We got a lot of time, actually.
Okay, good. Because I tried to set it up to where, honestly, like half of it would be questions. And yes, you kind of raised your hand. Go.
Yeah, when it comes to controllers, mice, keyboards, etc.
Yeah.
How basically do you feel like I know, like, you probably wouldn't consider self-control at one of the right?
We do allow SCUF controllers. And so peripherals.
That's a hard thing to rope in, and unless someone has obviously done something modded that is manipulating the game beyond you actually doing input. So SCUF controllers are fine because it's just additional paddles and stuff that you can map the buttons on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically, in order to stay sane with that kind of thing and not looking at every single person's controller that walks through the door, you have to kind of be lenient about it. And honestly, the first kid that thinks someone's using a modded controller, they're going to tell the tournament organizer very quickly. And then you just deal with it case by case. Mm-hmm. And that's the easiest way. And we do normally, we get a lot of our computers from Alienware for our events, and they provide mouse and keyboard, but we allow people to bring their mouse and keyboard because it's not really going to affect the games that we do. There's the PC games we do is Rocket League, League of Legends, Dota, those. Peripherals aren't really going to affect your skill in the game.
And we've never ran into anyone like with a modded peripheral that was a problem. Like if they modded it, it was in a way that was just maybe like a button that they preferred or something, you know, nothing that was like manipulating the actual mechanics of the game. Go ahead.
I know that something kind of changes the higher up the prize pool goes.
Oh yeah.
For instance, with Blizzard and BlizzCon, maybe their world tournament or anything else, like they're checking peripherals to see if it has any kind of like script written in or macros. Like they run through checks of everybody's peripherals first, make sure it's not running from autumn, so they're going to do something.
Yeah.
For the keystroke test.
Yeah, and that's for us. It's tough to do that because we just don't have the staff.
Yeah.
But for Blizzard, they
They
can.
got people throw it.
Yeah, they're like, go do something, please. I'm paying you to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just less than you want, like somebody in your CSGO tournament getting backhand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the one problem we ran to with online tournaments is they'll have the booters, and they'll boot people from the lobby.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that, like, we had to DQ someone because they were like, we're good. They, like, screenshotted their software, and they're like, we're going to boot them as soon as they get in here. It's like, can you guys just, it's a free tournament, just, like, play the game.
Yeah, we're literally giving you free money. Just play. You had your hand up?
Yeah, just to kind of add to that, I do know that for some games like it, especially with the play names that Evo play,
Yeah.
they actually do set up some guidelines in regards to, because it can get really crazy with modified fights. So what they do is they actually set up a guideline saying that, yes, you can have a modified fight stick, but it has to be based on this type of hardware. Like, I remember the name of it, but there's like a specific type of board, motherboard that they have to be based on. So, going off that, has there been any other games that they've actually come up with guidelines on hardware?
As far as like the console-based stuff, non-fighter related, I don't think anything. There was. I'm trying to think.
I never, what the most I see, and maybe unless there's maybe like a subtext somewhere, and this is just direct experience with Call of Duty and Call of Duty World League, it's not a super deep thing that I've experienced where there's like big guidelines. That I can understand, and also with the Blizzard thing, I can understand.
So actually, with Call of Duty, there's at Call of Duty World League, because of the sheer amount of controllers that they're using at one time, there's actually Bluetooth interference, and so they use these little. What the name of them are? It's a USB thing. That
Yeah,
plugs
it's the
in.
adapter you can use your keyboard and stuff on.
Yeah.
If you plug it into your console, it's just a little USB, and then you can plug your.
Controller in there, and it doesn't use the Bluetooth to actually connect to the console. And so that you could probably mod that thing, but that's why the tournament organizer, being CWL, they supply those themselves, and they also supply mix amps for everyone as well. They try and just cut out as much possibility for cheating as they can.
And that's another thing is we do supply our own controllers, so that if it became a problem, we could say you have to use our controllers, and just cut it off there. That would be one of the. That's the expensive route of control. It's just having all your own equipment, making sure it's all the same equipment is the ultimate way of controlling any kind of cheating like that.
Yeah. Oh, in the back. Yeah. Yeah.
Go to events.
Well, honestly, apparently, I learned yesterday that there's like there's a combine type scenario where basically you get to a certain. Can you speak more on that? Actually.
There's like a monitoring system coming up for Overwatch now. Playing it is going to do that. I mean, you're working way up to the monitoring pro level, work way up to the contingency and all that kind of stuff. Or eventually you will get noticed. Goes the event certainly where it is good. Need them, it's space up there, but then keep it on the line, it's going to be good. Like I say, I'm covering things like national.
Yeah.
Have possibility if I actually had a fan. So I go to the back and find them all, like, set up the house, scout, if you're at that level, I would say that's a good event. That's what helps. So, again, you need to see them in your knowledge, your active state.
Yeah, and And the biggest thing is like online play, like if you're just solo queuing type deal is a lot different than, your 6v6 in an actual with a coordinated team. So try to just find a local team, or you could carry them, but just go to an event with a team, because team dynamics and just dealing with people is much harder than playing video game. And wow.
Well, that was
really bright.
God is here. So yeah, but yeah, just to kind of cap up what he said is a lot of games that are focused more towards competitive are building this better online infrastructure where you can go and grind and get a reputation. And Call of Duty has pro points now through the game battles boards and MLG and stuff. But if you want to find a team that's serious and kind of get recognized, in my opinion, like in a face-to-face, because like the best business is done face-to-face, in my opinion. So go, and make a big splash at a LAN, because that's where that's the proving grounds right there, is doing it there at the LAN on the zero latency tournament. That's where if you get seriously competitive about it, that's where you're going to end up going every time. It's not online. You can grind online and learn online, but at the end of the day, the direct pressure test to you is going to be on a LAN.
Yeah, and also, the fact of you playing against 6 other people on a stage when people are watching you, that's a whole nother scenario than when you're at home playing behind your computer screen. So that's another thing.
But do all of it, and that's when we talked about the grind, is doing the online stuff, and then also going and you don't have to win big LANs, but if you can get top 32 out of a 180 person bracket, that's great. That means you're going somewhere. That means you're good enough to be there.
Yeah, and you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, you run a lot of tournaments.
Yeah.
So what do you focus on as far as revenue generation? Do you focus on sponsorship and partnerships with other companies? Do you focus on spectator revenue generation with in-game audience or in-event audience versus televised audience? How do you produce money? What's the best way you're finding to generate that revenue?
So for us, we have to get people in the door, and that's one thing, is making sure we give a good experience for the players. Our thing is make sure the players keep coming back. And excuse me.
Yeah, since we mainly do
take that over.
we do the smaller scale tournaments, so it's mainly most of our revenue is through ticket sales. We do have some sponsors, but honestly, the scale we are at currently, we go to a bunch of conventions and run tournaments there, and we're just not to the scale of an MLG or that kind of, to where we can bring that millions of dollars, but we can have Alienware sponsorship that they don't give us. The hardest thing with esports is getting that monetary sponsor, because all of it's peripheral. You're using things so that they'll give you mice all day, but you can't take mice to the bank and pay your apartment cost.
Yeah.
So
Because you do eventually have to return those mice, because you're on the hook for that. But getting people in the door and then making sure their experience is memorable and that they've done well, particularly what we've been doing is only, a 2-year venture at this point. So we're just making sure we have a good reputation, and we've built that well. And also, when we host something, people are like, we have to go to their event. Those guys know what they're doing. They have the right equipment. And we're trying to build that kind of snowball effect where once it gets big enough, then we can go to, Alienware and be like, hey, I want your computers, but you're also going to pay me for the advertising. So you have to have a big enough following. Everyone looks at those metrics. They go on, I'm sure you definitely understand that, where they'll go straight to your Twitter, straight to your Facebook, straight to your Twitch or whatever it may be, and say, well, how many people are actually watching or coming to your stuff? And I can say, we've got, I think, 400 people on Twitter now, by some miracle of anything. And they'll look at, like I said, they'll look at that, and once you have that following, you have leverage. So even that goes towards if you're doing Twitch or you're just trying to get some kind of branding off for yourself, build your following somehow, and make make it so you can say, yes, people do watch me, and have those statistics to take to people and say, look, I am important.
Yeah, and so especially just as far as like getting revenue and things like that, it's all about the extra effort. And like, there's a lot of people in esports that are kind of starting off and they try and email Alienware saying, "Hey, I'm doing this tournament. Can you give me money?" And it's like, no, like you give them a presentation, like take that next step. And also going back as far as when you run a tournament, extra effort also comes in too, because we make sure no one leaves angry from our tournaments. Like we take the extra time, talk with them if we try and make everyone happy, because I have heard so many horror stories of all these tournaments these people go to where the tournament organizers could care less. All they're trying to do is just get their shift done and get out of there. And having a personal experience really makes, like, we have like 10 or so teams that if we host a tournament, they're going to be there because we, take that extra effort, make sure everything's legitimate. Like we have the BenQ monitors, all the same exact. We have our PS4s and like everything's lined up into the T, and that little extra effort really plays a part. And you had your hand up? Yeah.
First question is, so I'm actually in a online gaming community and in a different position. The admins have been trying to run sort of a community friendly
Yeah.
They've been doing trying to do tournaments every 2 months, or trying to do like a seasonal thing where every couple of weeks play a game and potentially buy some deadlines, schedule kind of scenario.
Yeah.
But the past couple times that they've tried it is failed mostly from people just not committing.
Yeah, so that's actually...
Yeah, I feel your pain.
You're preaching to the choir, because we actually started our online tournament for Call of Duty, and we try to do flex schedule. And the hardest thing is to get players to actually
Read the instructions.
read and
That's another. I'm going to interrupt you, and that's another thing. If you get into any of this at a player level, at a coaching level, whatever you want to do with this, learn to read everything that you're getting involved with, and learn about it and have a deep understanding about it, because that is what's going to set you apart from everyone else, is just being able to understand what you're getting into. And people see that. They're like, oh, okay, this guy actually like read what I wrote and like has paid attention.
Yeah, because all those rules like don't kind of just appear. But honestly, so to get back to what you're saying, as far as how to get them to actually commit, there's no real easy way to force people to play the game. I mean, I love League of Legends, and I would be that guy that forced my team to actually show up, or I'm that guy that makes sure 100%. Like I was here at this panel an hour early. Like I'm that kind of guy. But the biggest thing is just knock the people. Like you got to have the people that actually show up, and just keep those people. Like make it small, and then have a benefit for them playing. Toss like $20 or $40 into some type of prize, riot points or something, and reward the people that are on that grind and taking it seriously, and more people will come. And so just downscale it maybe if you can. If not, then just have strict rules, and if it's not worked out after 3 or 4 times, then maybe rethink it. Because honestly, just seeing it happen, and maybe even half happening it to us, but we've avoided pretty well, is do not just throw money at it. Don't just be like, $1,000 for this tournament, people are going to show up. Because once you say, I am going to, here's $1,000 up for this tournament, and they run it and only maybe 2 teams show up, you're on the hook for that $1,000 for 2 teams. And you don't want that. So in little incremental amounts of, if you throw like $100 at something, you won't miss that $100, and it'll make them happy to say, okay, that was a good tournament. I'll come back and play for them again. Maybe it may be free roll, and there may not be a cash prize or whatever. But we've seen people throw tens of thousands of dollars at stuff, and still no turnout. So that's not the answer. Yeah, money. So I think the biggest way to make people commit is they have to have a stake in it, honestly. So if you even just got them to PayPal you $1 entry fee for each team, I promise you'll have more people show up on time. Because at that point, there's one person on the team that PayPal'd that $1 and they're missing $1. And that just kind of commitment will help, I think.
And what some people will do for $5, like as far as, like I see it with Call of Duty all the time, is they just like grind dollar or money eights, as they call it, money eights, and that's just money matches, just them gambling with each other. But and they'll have the sickest grudge over $1, couple bucks. Go ahead.
What do you say is the best way to get sponsors, local sponsors?
So the biggest thing is return on investment and like understanding what that means, and having a good packet that you take. Like literally, if you show up to a mom and pop video game store with a stack of 5 papers that show, if you're a Twitch streamer or something like that, like make it look nice and fancy and like put like pie charts and random like I promise they won't read every single little word, but the fact that you took the time to make
Something professional, like I'm very serious about this because at the end of the day, you're just a face for marketing them. And you can definitely, don't approach the big guys. Try to find those little people that are kind of like startup-y, like not, almost like niche, like for us, there's like this that we're going to try working on is the hot hands thing. Not hot hands, but this little
little
like,
hotties. It's a local one in North Carolina. Like hand warmers are a big thing for.
because they like keep your hands loose.
Yeah, so just like finding kind of just companies and more and more people are starting to know about esports in general. So that's going to help you, and it's going to be easier and easier to approach these people. But yeah, just find small shops and do it professionally is my biggest.
And you may not get they probably aren't going to hand you money. I doubt it, at the very beginning at least. But you can be like, hey, can I get a free hat or something? Just anything to kind of market them. Go ahead.
Speaking from the experience too, like reaching out to big guys and stuff like that, like I actually put together a media kit at one point for our group that we distributed out to video from the UVGA, motherboard makers, things like that, PC gaming, and they would send us through and they'd be like, all right, well, here's a motherboard, here's a video card, here's this. So you can get some like good stuff here and there, provided put together well, and you show how much your audience is, and we demonstrated they're going to want to buy that product. In our case, there's a lot of PC enthusiast players who wanted PC parts. Like, okay, clearly you have people come here every year, your event sells out, sure, we're going to do that, and they would give us some stuff. I would advise against ever trying even to get cash from other companies. Number one, they're not going to give it to you. Number two, you run serious danger running afoul of your state law. So for us, getting prizes was okay because prizes were physical objects that are okay to hand out as winning, especially at tournaments, things like this. When you start talking about cash being handed out for winning a game prize, then you start tax laws. You're breaking into a whole other boundary that like you could be facing serious legal problems for handing out a check or a file of cash.
And that, yeah, and that's something that we've worked with lawyers. And I forget what, isn't it sub 5K is like.
Yeah, there's.
And this goes into like. Yeah. This is like, and this is a thing for like, back to Call of Duty because that's what I know the best is. Like, for CWL you have to be 18 to go to the pro events, and that is just it fixes a whole bunch of legal issues once you're 18, and also there's the thing with paying out people, because after above 5K it gets kind of hokey. So and then you have to actually write up like a W-2 and stuff, and
there's all kinds of
it's so it's if you're gonna be careful handing out money. Like if it's $100, it's $100, but physical prizes are better. And also that's something that you can get from a sponsor and be like, I'm going to give this away. I'll put your logo up on all my stuff for the tournament, and I'll market you for 5 weeks or something like that.
So did we answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? I think what time are we looking at? We still got 15 minutes.
I guess basically we could tell the story of how we ever got into esports or our venture into esports.
Yeah, I can give you a little brief history of me in general. I guess the way I got into esports was watching Unreal Tournament way back when. Got into Halo pretty heavily. Was never good enough to actually compete, but loved my Dr. Pepper League and watching MLG on TV.
He likes straight ripping.
Yeah, I'm a straight ripping fan. And yeah, I started with Halo and then got into League of Legends, and that's when I really kind of dove headfirst into esports. I was going to NC State at the time and found some players. Like I just went to there's a NCSU League of Legends Facebook group. I got on there. I wanted to create a team, and I got to a group of 5 guys together, set a schedule, started doing pick and bans. Like we practiced, and that's really how I got into esports. And then I found out when we went to our first campus tournament. This is the power strips hanging from the ceiling, circuit breakers popping type scenario. I walked in and I was just like, wow, I feel like I can help these guys. So I went to the esports club officer meeting and ended up being their event planner for the next year. And I planned my first LAN event, which was I think we had tournaments for Super Smash Brothers, CSGO, StarCraft, and League of Legends. Maybe Hearthstone too, I think. And we had about a third of this sectioned off size area. And I worked that summer. I worked 3 jobs, 70 hours a week, while also planning this LAN that was going to happen second week of fall semester. And people started rolling in more and more, and it ended up being about 550 people showed up to the first event I ever planned. And the president at the time of the esports club was kind of blown away at how hard I've been working on it. And that's when I found out that I truly love planning events. All the minute discrepancies and just all the spreadsheets and lists and coordination. I love that stuff. And so yeah, he made me president of the esports club. Because he just knew that I was more passionate about it and would take it more seriously. And yeah, then a couple months later, I planned the first, I think it's still technically the largest collegiate esports event in the Southeast. We had 16 colleges show up. It was about a little over 1,000 people came, and we played Smash Brothers, League of Legends, and there was one more. I think it was Hearthstone. Pretty sure it was Hearthstone. And so we had 3 tournaments. Each school brought, if they could, a representative team for each, and we had the tournament. And that's kind of what got me really into it. I got into some charities. Operation Supply Drop and Extra Life are 2 great charities. You should definitely check them out. And yeah, I went to PAX South, got into the PC room there, helped out, met a lot of people that ended up going to work for DreamHack. And I've just been 110% trying to chase the esport event dream. And yeah, I have a 3-year kind of plan to hopefully work for one of the larger Intel Extreme Masters, DreamHack, because I think at that point I will have sucked up all the information from local small scale stuff that I can, and I'll have to learn from these vets that have been doing it for 10 years. And then from there, in 10 years, I kind of want to host my own gaming event series around the country that raises money for these different charities. Because there's Able Gamers, there's so many gaming charities that do great work, and I think hosting a gaming tournament event thing, I haven't got the idea 100% yet, but that's kind of my trajectory as far as what I want to do.
Also, I'm sure everyone's wondering, and we didn't want to super make it a marketing deal, but our organization is AEL, Amateur Esports League, and our focus is kind of on the amateur scene, but we can finish up with that. But just a little bit about me. I gamed forever, my whole life. But when I went to college, I never ever expected to get into esports or any kind of event management at all. I said, I'm going to go do international business, and then I'm going to go do business development and sales after school. And that's what I did. All through this, still loving gaming. I played baseball my entire life up through college. So in about a year ago, well, actually more than a year and a half ago, I moved to Raleigh and ended up meeting him and started doing some of the AEL events with him. And, I enjoyed it so much. It was kind of work away from work. And it was just something I was really passionate about finally, beyond just, the 40-hour-a-week grind in an office was like making me scratch my eyes out. So this was definitely a breath of fresh air for me. So I've been around and doing this for about a year, and what I do is I do all the community management and then some. We wear a lot of hats, obviously. We're not a big outfit. So as a community manager, I basically manage all the social medias and make sure I have to stay in touch. I want people within whatever community it is we're working with at the time to know who I am and to feel I'm approachable. So when they need questions or they have questions or they need something done or they have a suggestion, they can come to me and I can kind of process that, and also make sure our Twitter and Facebook and stuff are all updated and kind of stay current. And that was something that AEL didn't have when I showed up. So I was like, I know how to do this. I can handle this in a professional manner. I wish I knew more about social media marketing and stuff. It's something that I just never touched into, but I've begun self-training. And that's another thing is you can self-teach a lot of this, but it's, takes time, obviously. So that's kind of where we're at now, and I'm going to try and continue growing this social media presence and getting my face out there as like the face of who we are and what we're doing, and just when people think of AEL, they go, okay, we need I want to talk to that Chris guy. He's over at AEL. They're awesome. He's great, and he's going to give us the service that we need. So that's kind of where I've put my attention towards, and also making sure we remain profitable.
Yeah, I'm the behind-the-scenes guy that's running around like a chicken with his head cut off the entire event, making sure whatever broke is fixed quickly and everyone's happy. And I also plan all the pre-stuff. I've gotten really good at prize pool and tournament structures, and I can do a double elimination bracket by hand now, so that's real cool. And so yeah, it's just esports events. There's a whole. So I get emotional when I talk about it. So like, there's something about spending 2 months planning this huge event. I'll go back to my collegiate event. I spent 2.5 months planning out that multi-collegiate event, and it was hundreds and hundreds of hours of work, like blueprints. Like I took the building plans. I got a guy on campus that I knew to get the blueprints, and I stitched it together on Photoshop and planned out the entire venue and all this stuff. And I worked endlessly for weeks. And then it all really hit me. It was the first day. It was about 3 hours in, and I'd been putting out all the initial fires, and everything was kind of calming down. And I walked by the stage, and there was this guy, Seamus. He's actually now a caster for the Overwatch League. He actually was really good, and he was casting League of Legends. And it's just, it hit me, and he was casting League of Legends. Everyone was playing, and everyone was having a great time. All that effort I put in, everyone was just having a great time, and that high is just what I do it for, honestly. And yeah, I love doing work in order for people to have fun, because esports, I love it. So
yeah, that's the big thing is you have to love this. You have to love this. It isn't especially just getting into it, you're nobody. I'm sorry, guys, you're nobody for the most part. Maybe some people in here are probably somebodies, but we're nobodies in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
No one, we know some people, but that's about it. But it's grinding and building your reputation and just loving this. People will know if you're passionate about this the second they talk to you. And if you're not, then you're already out. Go find something else to do. So just to kind of reflect on my own experience again is I still work for a 40-hour-a-week job. And then after that, I go home and work on AEL stuff to make sure this is moving forward. So, and obviously you're here, so you have some kind of passion about it, but get out there and do it, guys. That's what people want to see. They don't care if you've read all about esports or have all these esports statistics you can fire off at them. Go out and do it and prove yourself and show people that you have value in this and you have skills that you can contribute to. And everyone here, I assume, has gamed for a long time. You understand gaming to some level. You can't understand it all. Like I don't know a darn thing about League of Legends. There's too many games to know. Like it's impossible. So don't have that expectation, but build skills that are like general business and etiquette skills and interpersonal skills, and also just general work ethic. Because when you get into this, whether it be an organizer or a player, it's going to come down to, once again, passion, time, and hard work.
Yeah, it really just taking that effort really speaks for itself. Like you can plan it. It is better to try and host a local Street Fighter V tournament and 2 people show up than for you to just sit at home and do nothing. And
assuming you don't spend thousands of dollars to do that.
You gotta
be money
gotta
conscious,
smart
obviously, but that's it. Like you have to think about it. Is everything, even MAGFest was only 300 people, or really back in the day, it was just a couple hundred people. Now we're at what, 20,000 plus or something.
I think 30,000. Yeah.
Yeah. So and that took 15 years to do. I'm pretty sure. Or tens of years, and we've seen so many events that were just like that, where it was like just someone had the motivation to go out and do it, and they stuck with it long enough and made it profitable just enough, long enough that it's here. It's made it, I guess.
Yeah. So, is there any final questions before we wrap up? Because we got 2 minutes left, and you're also welcome.
Yeah, you can catch us in the hallway or whatever.
Yeah,
if you want to bother us more.
Yeah, because I'm always happy to answer questions. I'll give you as much what's in my head to help you. And yeah, thanks for coming so early. 10 a.m. Was a feat. I drank my Pedialyte before I went to bed, and it really helped me survive the wake up this morning. Yeah, thanks for coming. And yeah.